So there's this saying in the plant community that you've probably heard that goes, first year they sleep, second year they creep, third year they leap. Essentially what this saying is referring to is the growing pattern of plants that we bring into our house. Generally, the first year that you bring a plant into your house, it sleeps. So it's getting used to the conditions of your new house, to new humidity, to new watering and light. And during that period, there's not a whole lot of growth. It might have some incremental growth, but it may not be, incredible growth. In the second year, it creeps, which alludes to the fact that after it's gotten used to all of these new conditions, your plant will grow a little bit more. It'll creep along in that growth. Third year alludes to the fact that your plant has been established for 2 years now. It's gotten used to the growing conditions that it's in, so now is its chance to fully grow because, it's in an environment that it knows and understands. And so it can grow to its max potential, whatever that is. Just like most sayings, this saying is not, 100% accurate. You could have something like a Pothos, which will leap in growth within a few weeks after buying it. Or you could have something like a Pothos Enjoy that does absolutely nothing for years. But it's a fun little saying, and generally it tends to have some kind of truth behind it. So for the next few weeks, we're going to take a look at the plants that I have in each category, so first year, second year, third year, and above, and take a look at the new growth that has happened over the last year, 2, or 3. Today we're going to be talking about the second year plants. So in the saying, second year they creep, these are plants that have established themselves, they've been around for a while, they know their environment, and they're starting to push out more growth now than they would have in their first year. So these are plants that I've had for over a year. And some of these might surprise you because I have quite a few that have done absolutely nothing. And I don't know if it's just me or if it's the plant, but they don't want to grow. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. So to start off with some of these plants, these are second year plants. So they're plants that I've had for coming on to 2 years. So if we're following that whole saying, first year they sleep, second year they creep, these plants should be showing a little bit more growth than they would have in the first year that I've had them. So for each plant, I'm going to talk about the growth that I've seen over the last year. And if I think that it's true that they kind of did grow more the second year that I've had them in comparison to the first. So we're going to start this one off with everybody's favorite, the Peperomia Hope. So it's going on 2 years now. I think this will be the second summer that I've had it. And this thing grows crazy. Like even when I had it in the first year, it grew so fast and so much. And you can tell now, this is the same plant that I cut up for my Peperomia Hope propagation video. And it looks like I need to do it again. And that wasn't even a year ago. I think it was like 8 months ago or something like that. So yeah, these ones definitely, they don't really hold to that whole first year they sleep, second year they creep, third year they leap. It's more just like they leap from the moment that you get them. But yeah, this is one of my favorite plants right now. And I have it set aside because I have to repot it. So next we have this variegated string of hearts. And I got this at a plant swap. There was like a big plant swap event right before COVID. And a couple of my plants that I'll be talking about today are from that plant swap. So this one, it's actually grown quite a bit. This will be the second summer I've had with it. When I first got it, it was one single strand, and then I had to basically cut it up and propagate it, and I still have to cut some of these strands up a little bit and propagate some more. But I think it's looking pretty good, considering it was only one little vine of variegated string of hearts when I first got it. So it's come a long way in the 2 years. This right here is some kind of palm. I don't know if it's a parlor palm or what it is. Basically, my mom had a whole bunch of these that she was growing and she gave me one. And it's really hard to tell what kind of palms are what. I think it's a parlor palm, but I'm not really sure. This will be the second summer that I've had this as well. And the first year that I had this and it was just a little tiny thing, it didn't grow for a long time. This actually started to grow in the second year that I had it, so it definitely held to the rule of like second year they creep. Next we're going to take a look at this ZZ Zenzi, which really needs to be dusted. So this will be the second summer that I've had this. It hasn't really done anything. I haven't really had it in the best of light though. Of all of my plants, because ZZs can handle kind of a more shadier area, I've kept this one there. So if I had this in a brighter area, it would definitely show more growth. But it hasn't really shown that much. So maybe this year it will start creeping. So next we have a Begonia Sophie Cecile, an angel wing begonia, and this is one of two that I have. Originally I got this as a big plant from the same plant swap that I got the string of hearts from, but it wasn't a very healthy plant, so I ended up cutting it up and propagating it and creating a couple plants out of it. So this is one of them. It's shown a lot of growth. This will be the second year that I've had it, and all of this is new growth on the top. This one and this leaf I think are new. I think, stunt its growth a little bit by chopping it up and repotting it, but it has grown really well, so I'm hoping that it'll continue to show really well growth. Next we have this Pothos Enjoy, and I've had this for 2 years. It's going on 3, but I think at the end of the summer it'll be 3 years that I've had this. And for the first year that I had this, it did absolutely nothing. And for a good chunk of the second year, it also did nothing. It's only been in the last few months that it started to fill out a bit more and grow more, so like we have a new leaf coming in here. But this plant has been really picky to deal with. But I think it's really pretty, and the leaves are really delicate with this little variegation. So hopefully it'll get over that like sleeping phase and it'll start to creep a little bit more and grow some more. So next we have this ZZ Raven, which is the black variety of ZZ, and it is so dusty, man. These ZZs get so dusty for some reason. I got this at Lowe's a few years ago, right before I got the ZZ Zenzi, and this plant has always done really well for me. As soon as I brought it home, it started growing, and it's constantly growing new shoots. This grew really well for me in the first year, and it continues to grow really well for me. So I definitely recommend picking one of these up. I have this in a brighter location than I do my ZZ Zenzi though, so that's probably why it grows a little bit better. So next I have this satin pothos, and it's looking kind of small and sad, but originally I had it it was a much bigger plant, and I don't really know what happened to it. It just went downhill really fast and everything started dying. So I propagated as much as I could and I created this plant with it. The original plant of this is probably about 2 years old. These cuttings are maybe about a year old, but they've grown quite a bit since putting them in here, and they're doing quite well. So this is the only satin pothos that I have right now, and it's coming back really nicely. So I'm really happy about that because this is one of my favorite pothos plants that I have. I've also got this Bambino, so it's a mini fiddly fig, and this will be my second summer with it. It's grown a lot, especially this past winter. So if you look at this one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves. All these leaves came in this winter, and I think a few of them on this one came in as well. This stalk isn't doing as well. It's only got 1 new leaf, but it's kind of buried back there. But this plant is definitely creeping along in its growth. Actually, I would say that in terms of fiddly figs, it's leaping in its growth because my regular fiddly figs have not grown this much in a couple months. So I'm definitely happy with the way that it's going. It's still really small right now. I gotta shake them a little bit to thicken up those stalks. But the goal with this is to make it into a great big tree. Like most of my plants, I don't know where I'm gonna put all of these trees. So next we have my Brainia nervosa, my Snowbush. And this I thought was gonna die over the winter because all these leaves basically just fell off. And that actually happened to me right when I first got this plant, right before the pandemic. But what I think happens now with this plant is in the winter, when it gets less light and it's a little colder, it loses a lot of its leaves, and then it just kind of grows them back as it starts to get into the growing season, because all of this on top is new growth. And oh, those leaves are so pretty. I really love this Snowbush. It's one of my favorite plants. It's so delicate, it's so different from like other tropical houseplants that I have. But yeah, this one definitely grows like a weed too. It dies really fast. I guess it dies like a weed, but it also grows like a weed. So I've also got this fiddly fig over here that I've had for about 2 years. This will be going on its second summer. When I originally got it, I pruned it into a tree because the whole thing was covered in leaves and I wanted to give it more of a tree look. Since then, since buying it, it's put out 1 new leaf, that one right there, and it hasn't done anything. So for about like, I don't know, it's been almost 2 years and it's only put out 1 new leaf, which is kind of weird because I have another fiddly fig that I've had for about 4 or 5 years and it's constantly putting out new leaves. So I don't know why this one, this one just hates me. And this is the one that's in the better shape, in better condition. So it's kind of strange. I don't know what's going on with it. So over here, this is currently my like cactus and succulent table set up right now for everything while we're like moving and getting ready for the move. Over here, this one I've had for about 2 years. This will be the second summer I've had with it. It's a Sansevieria cylindrica. I got this one at Walmart and it has put out a lot of new growth. So it was one of those ones that had like, this is an original one. It had a whole bunch of really thick ones that were just kind of coming out in a spiral. So all of this new growth that has come in and disrupted that spiral is stuff that has grown in the first and second year that I've had it. Over here, these are a couple of little plants that I got in that same plant swap that I got the variegated string of hearts. So this is a Sansevieria samurai, and it is so slow growing. When I first got this, I think this is the only new leaf that has come in 2 years. Otherwise, it was just this little part right here. And this is a starfish, I think. It's a Sansevieria cylindrica starfish variety, so it grows out in like a fan kind of pattern. And I got that at the swap too. And it's doing really well. It took a while to grow. The first year that I had it, it did nothing. The second year, it started to put out some new growth. And yeah, it's doing all right. It's still doing its thing. Over here, this Sansevieria Moonshine is about 2 years old. It hasn't really done anything. I mean, it hasn't put out any new growth, but it also hasn't died, so I'm pretty happy with that. I also have this Sansevieria, which is going on about 2 years, and it is the same. Hasn't done anything, but also hasn't died, so good work. And then back here, both this fairy castle cactus and these little, I don't know what they're called, like some kind of pebble succulents. They are both going on their second year, so this fairy castle cactus hasn't done anything, which is a little strange because I did have a fairy castle cactus that grew so fast that it just died on me, but this one hasn't really grown or done anything. These grow pretty fast though for succulents. I don't have a lot of succulents because I can't keep them alive, but these ones grow pretty readily. You can see a whole bunch of new growth on the top here and over there, and I just actually cut these all up and created a really thick looking pot. So yeah, they're doing pretty good too. So next we have the Sansevieria whalefin, and I got this the February before the pandemic, so we're coming up to the second summer that I would have had this plant. And in the time that I've had it, so it's been over a year, it's done nothing. It's still one of my absolute favorite plants because I just love how like thick and full it is. But it hasn't grown any new babies in it, and I've heard that sometimes they don't grow any more babies. I'm really hoping that this one does. The roots are wound in that pot, so hopefully this summer I'll start to see some new babies pop out of it. But even if no babies come out of it, it's one of my favorite plants. It's just so, like, the texture is so nice. I love the colors. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite plants. Another plant in this category is my Hoya numelarioides, my pink corona. So if you remember, I've talked about this plant a few times. When I first got it, I nearly killed it, and all of the leaves fell off of these vines. Since then, it started growing, I think again last summer, it started putting out a bunch of new vines and new leaves. And this past summer, this vine that's up there, and there's a vine over there, and this one right here, they all started to grow really long. And I started to get new leaves on some of the older vines that you can see down here and back there. So this one actually is the only Hoya that I've had that has bloomed for me, but I'm really happy with the way that it has grown because I thought I'd killed it, and it's come back strong and it's bloomed for me. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this plant is going. Lastly, we have my very sad philodendron pink princess. And it's sad because I've had some trouble with it recently. So the first year that I had it, it grew great. It grew really tall. I ended up cutting it and propagating it. As some of you will remember, I have all of those videos about my pink princess propagations. And then I planted a bunch back in here. And then it did something weird. It like shriveled up and like dried out, even though I let it dry out between waterings. I don't know what happened with it. It just decided it wasn't gonna do well anymore. So a couple of the cuttings died, but I also have all this new growth, and there's new growth on this too. And I ended up cutting it back because I had about 4 or 5 leaves that were just shriveled up and dead. So I really don't know what was wrong with it, what's going on. But hopefully this will be the second summer that I've had this plant, and hopefully it'll start to show a lot more growth in this second year that I've had it. And there we have it. Those were the second year plants and all of the growth that they have shown or not shown. Thanks again for watching, and let me know what plants you have that are in the 2-year stage and if they are showing the same amount of growth that you expected them to. Thanks again for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for similar content. On Mondays, I post videos about houseplants, and on Fridays, I also post videos about houseplants, and reading, writing, photography, art, and any other generic interests of mine. As always, you can find my social media links in the description below. Also, you can find links to H&H Games, the board game company I've helped create, and our debut board game, Season of Heroes. You can also find the Amazon links to my fantasy series, A Chronicle of Crowns. Thanks for watching, bye!